Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi Dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Today we're going to analyze an important statement that has been circulating among observers of Iraq's financial landscape and within the broader Iraqi Dinar community. The statement is simple, but carries significant implications. It suggests that no one can accurately predict when the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar might change. According to the comment, the timing could be as early as March, or it might extend into April, and the determining factors are not speculation or rumors, but rather real world developments, particularly the duration of ongoing regional tensions and how quickly Iraq can move forward with political stability through the formation of its government. To understand what this means, it is important to step back and examine the broader economic and political context surrounding Iraq. Currency values do not change in isolation. Exchange rate adjustments are typically the result of coordinated economic policy, political stability, fiscal management, and international confidence. In Iraq's case, these factors are especially interconnected because the country's economic recovery and financial reforms are closely tied to the stability of its institutions and the effectiveness of its governance. The statement emphasizes uncertainty around timing, and that is a realistic reflection of how currency policy works in practice. Central banks rarely announce sudden changes to exchange rate regimes without careful preparation and favorable conditions. For Iraq, the central bank's monetary strategy is linked not only to domestic economic indicators, but also to political developments, security considerations, and regional dynamics. One of the key factors mentioned in the statement is the length of the war or conflict affecting the region. Geopolitical tensions in the Middle East can influence investment flows, government spending priorities, and the pace of economic reform. When a country is operating within a region experiencing security concerns, policymakers often move cautiously. Stability is essential for financial reforms, and large-scale economic changes typically require a stable environment where markets can react predictably. Investors, international institutions, and financial partners tend to watch geopolitical risks very closely. When conflicts remain unresolved, governments often focus resources on security, humanitarian needs, and political negotiations rather than rapid economic restructuring. This does not necessarily stop reforms altogether, but it can slow the timeline for major monetary policy decisions. Another important element mentioned in the statement is the formation of the government. Political stability is a major factor in economic confidence. When a government is fully formed and functioning effectively, it is better able to pass legislation, implement fiscal policy, and coordinate with institutions like the central bank. Without a stable political framework, even well-designed economic reforms can face delays. In Iraq's case, government formation and coalition stability have historically played a significant role in determining how quickly economic initiatives move forward. When political negotiations take longer than expected, policy implementation can also be delayed. For international investors and financial institutions, clarity in governance is often a prerequisite for deeper economic cooperation. This connection between politics and monetary policy is not unique to Iraq. Many emerging economies experience similar dynamics. When governments are stable and economic policy is predictable, financial markets tend to respond more positively. When political uncertainty exists, investors often wait for clearer signals before making long-term commitments. For followers of the Iraqi Dinar, the key takeaway from the statement is that exchange rate changes are tied to broader structural developments rather than specific dates or predictions. It is common for online discussions to focus on exact timing, but in reality, currency policy evolves through gradual preparation and alignment between economic institutions and political leadership. Looking at the current economic situation in Iraq, the country has several long-term strengths that analysts often highlight. Iraq remains one of the world's significant oil producers, and oil exports continue to provide the majority of government revenue. When oil prices are relatively strong, Iraq's fiscal position can improve. giving the government additional resources to invest in infrastructure, reconstruction, and economic diversification. However, reliance on oil also creates challenges. Economic diversification remains an important goal for Iraq's policymakers. Building stronger sectors outside of oil, such as agriculture, manufacturing, logistics, and services, can help create a more balanced economy. A diversified economy is generally more resilient and can support a more stable currency environment over time. In addition to diversification, Iraq has been working on modernizing its financial system. Banking reforms, digital payment initiatives, and efforts to strengthen anti-money laundering frameworks have all been part of the country's broader economic modernization strategy. These reforms are important because they increase transparency and improve the integration of Iraq's financial system with global markets. When analysts talk about potential currency adjustments or exchange rate developments, they often connect those possibilities to the progress of these structural reforms. Stronger banking systems, improved fiscal discipline, and better governance structures create the conditions that allow central banks to manage their currency policies more effectively. In the short term, however, uncertainty is a normal part of the process. Political negotiations, regional developments, and economic policy discussions all influence the timeline. This is why statements like the one we're analyzing emphasize that no one can pinpoint an exact date for any exchange rate movement. Short-term implications for dinar followers primarily involve monitoring developments in three areas. First, political progress towards stable governance. Second, the broader regional security environment. And third, ongoing economic reforms within Iraq's financial system. These factors together shape the environment in which monetary policy decisions are made. For example, if political negotiations move forward smoothly and a stable government continues implementing economic reforms, confidence in Iraq's financial trajectory may increase. That confidence can attract foreign investment, encourage trade partnerships, and strengthen the overall economic outlook. On the other hand, if political disagreements delay policy decisions or if regional tensions intensify, policymakers may choose to move more cautiously. Stability often takes priority when governments are balancing multiple challenges at once. It is also important to recognize that currency policy is ultimately the responsibility of a nation's central bank. Central banks typically focus on maintaining financial stability, controlling inflation, and ensuring that the monetary system supports sustainable economic growth. Any adjustments to exchange rates are usually made in a way that aligns with those goals. For Iraq, maintaining price stability and managing liquidity within the banking system are ongoing priorities. The central bank has used various tools over the years, including currency auctions and monetary controls, to manage the supply of foreign currency and stabilize the domestic market. These policies may evolve as Iraq continues integrating its financial system with international markets. Financial modernization and regulatory reforms can create new opportunities for growth, but they also require careful management to avoid sudden disruptions. From a long-term perspective, the outlook for Iraq's economy is often linked to infrastructure development, energy sector investment, and improvements in governance. Large reconstruction projects, modernization of transportation networks, and expansion of energy production all have the potential to strengthen the country's economic foundation. International organizations have frequently highlighted Iraq's potential due to its natural resources and strategic location within the region. With effective governance and sustained reform, the country has the capacity to expand its economic partnerships and attract investment from a wide range of global markets. However, potential does not always translate into immediate results. Economic transformation is typically a gradual process that unfolds over years rather than weeks or months. This is why analysts often encourage observers to focus on long-term indicators rather than short-term rumors or speculative timelines. Another important factor to consider is investor psychology. Financial markets are influenced not only by data, but also by expectations. When investors believe that a country is moving towards stability and reform, they may begin positioning themselves for future opportunities. Conversely, when uncertainty dominates the headlines, investors may wait for more clarity before committing significant capital. For followers of the Iraqi dinar, this dynamic highlights the importance of staying informed through credible sources and maintaining realistic expectations. Economic reforms can be complex, and timelines can shift depending on political negotiations, global market conditions, and regional developments. The statement we analyzed today ultimately serves as a reminder that predicting exact dates for currency changes is rarely possible. Instead, meaningful economic progress depends on structural improvements, political coordination, and consistent policy implementation. Looking ahead, observers will likely continue monitoring developments in Iraq's political landscape, regional security conditions, and economic reform initiatives. Each of these areas contributes to the broader environment in which financial decisions are made. While speculation can be common in online discussions, responsible analysis focuses on measurable indicators such as government policy announcements, economic data, and international partnerships. These indicators provide a more reliable picture of the direction in which the economy is moving. As Iraq continues its journey toward economic modernization, the relationship between political stability and financial reform will remain a central theme. Progress in one area often supports progress in the other, creating a foundation for sustainable growth over time. For viewers who follow the Iraqi dinar closely, the most valuable approach is to stay patient, stay informed, and evaluate developments within the context of broader economic trends rather than isolated rumors. If you want to continue receiving responsible and factual updates about the Iraqi dinar and Iraq's evolving economy, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And as always, remember that this content is provided for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice.